The distress signal was weak. It came through static, like a dying whisper lost in the void. Ethan Cole sat in his cockpit, eyes on the blinking red light. The message repeated over and over. Help, please. Help me. It wasn't human. The tone, the pitch definitely alien. Ethan frowned. This sector was dangerous. Pirates, warlords, old minefields. It wasn't the place to play hero. But something about that voice. It sounded desperate. Almost afraid. He adjusted his controls and followed the signal. His ship, the Sparrow, cut through the black like a silver knife. After 20 minutes, the source appeared a massive alien cruiser, floating dead in space. Its hull was torn open like a wound. Sparks flickered along the edges. No lights inside. No movement. Damn, Ethan muttered. That ship was a ghost. He scanned for life signs. Nothing. Then, one faint signal dot alive. Barely dot his gut told him to leave. But his hands were already moving. He locked the Sparrow to the cruiser and suited up. The airlock hissed open, and cold darkness greeted him. Inside, the alien ship was silent. Panels hung loose from the walls. Wires floated in 0G like seaweed. In black water. He stepped carefully, his helmet light cutting through the gloom. Hello? His voice echoed. No answer. He followed the life sign deeper into the ship. It led him through broken halls, past burned-out rooms and shattered consoles. The smell of metal and ash lingered even through his suit. Then he saw it, a faint blue glow behind a fallen bulkhead. He moved closer, heart pounding. There she was, an alien woman, half buried under wreckage. Her skin was silver, shimmering faintly in the dark. Her hair floated around her like strands of starlight. Her eyes half open glowed a dim blue. She looked tall and strong, or maybe she once was. Now she was broken. Ethan dropped to his knees. Hey, can you hear me? Her lips moved. No sound came. He leaned closer, pressing a hand to her cheek. Warm, alive. Finally, her voice came a whisper like cracked glass. Please, don't leave me here. Ethan froze. For a second, he thought he imagined it. Then her eyes flicked open wider, glowing faintly. She tried to move, but the debris pinned her legs. I'm not leaving you, Ethan said quickly. He gripped the metal slab and pulled. It didn't budge. He cursed under his breath and grabbed a plasma cutter from his belt. Sparks flew as he sliced through the wreckage. Her breathing was shallow, uneven. She watched him, eyes full of something he didn't expect. Shame. The last piece of metal fell free. Ethan slid his arms under her and lifted her gently. She was light, almost too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. Her body trembled against his dot as he carried her back toward his ship. She whispered again, voice trembling. You. Repair engines. Can you fix me too? Ethan's steps faltered. What did that mean? Was she asking for medical help? Or something deeper? He didn't answer. He couldn't. Back in the Sparrow, Ethan laid her on the medbay bed and connected. The auto-heal system. The machines hummed, scanning her body, sealing wounds with blue light. Her eyes fluttered open again. For a moment, she just stared at him, like she was trying to understand why he saved her. Then, her lips moved once more. Why? Would you save me? Ethan stared back, silent. He didn't know the answer yet. He turned to check the readings, pretending to focus on the screen. But inside, his chest felt heavy. That voice, that question, it wasn't just about her body. It was about something else. Something broken inside her that no machine could fix. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan wondered if he was ready for what that meant. Asterisk, as he glanced at the monitors, an alert flashed across the screen. Unknown transmission detected. Coordinates locked on your position. Someone was coming. The scream came without warning. Ethan spun around, heart hammering, as the medbay lights flickered red. The alien woman sat upright on the bed, tearing at the life support tubes with trembling hands. Blue liquid sprayed across. The floor. Stop. You'll kill yourself. Ethan rushed forward, grabbing her wrists. Her skin burned cold against his gloves. Her glowing blue eyes widened in panic, then anger. Why? She hissed. Her voice was stronger now, sharp like broken glass. Why didn't you let me die? Ethan froze, still gripping her arms. He expected fear, pain, anything but that question. Because you were alive, he said, forcing calm into his voice. Because I don't leave people behind. Her expression twisted. For a long moment, she just stared at him, breathing hard. Then, slowly, her muscles relaxed. Ethan eased her back onto the bed, reattaching the tubes. She turned her face away. You don't understand? She whispered. Her tone was bitter, full of something heavier than pain. I'm already dead. Ethan swallowed hard. You're breathing. That means you're not dead. She gave a laugh, soft, hollow, without joy. You're kind. You think life is breath. For us, life is honor. And mine. Her voice cracked. Mine is gone. The words sank into him like stones. He pulled up a chair and sat next to her, his gaze locked on her glowing eyes. Then tell me, what happened? Silence stretched between them. The ship hummed softly in the background, the only sound in the cold air. Finally, she spoke. My name is Kalen, she said, voice low, as if the name itself carried weight. I was a soldier, protector of the Empire. Her hands trembled against the sheets. We were ambushed. Our fleet was burning. My commander, he ordered the civilians to die so the ships could escape. Her eyes met his, glowing brighter. Now, wet with tears that shimmered like liquid light. I disobeyed. I saved them. I killed him. Ethan felt his jaw tighten. He didn't expect that. You saved innocent lives. That's not a crime. But Kalen shook her head violently. For my people, it is the greatest crime. A soldier who disobeys loses everything. Honor, name, soul. She pressed her hands to her chest, like she wanted to rip something out. I thought I could escape, but when my ship broke, I thought... Her voice faded into a whisper. Maybe this is what I deserve. Ethan stared at her, something deep twisting inside him. He'd seen soldiers broken before, men who lived through wars, but left pieces of themselves behind. But this was worse. You asked why I didn't let you die, he said quietly. Because every life has worth, even yours. Kalen's breath caught. She turned her head slowly toward him, her glowing eyes searching his face for something she couldn't name. Worth. She repeated, almost tasting the word. What is that to you, human? He opened his mouth to answer, but the ships. Alarm screamed first. Ethan jumped to his feet, hitting the control panel. A red warning blinked across the screen. Incoming transmission detected. Hostile ID. Imperial hunters. Distance, 50,000 kilometers. His blood ran cold. He didn't need to explain what that meant. Kalen already knew. Her glowing eyes widened, fear flashing like lightning. They found me, she whispered, her voice shaking. They will kill you for helping me. Ethan's hands tightened on the console. Outside, space was empty, but not for long. He turned back to her, jaw set. Then they'll have to catch me first. Asterisk. The Sparrow's radar lit up as 3 alien ships decloaked in a triangle around them. Kalen's voice broke through the alarm. You can't fight them, Ethan. They'll destroy us both. Ethan slid into the pilot's seat, eyes burning with defiance. Watch me try. Asterisk. The alarm howled through the cockpit like a wounded animal. Ethan's hands flew across the controls, pulling up every sensor readout he had. Red icons flashed on the screen. 3 alien ships, closing in fast. The message was clear: retrieve the traitor, kill the human. Kaylin stood behind him, gripping the doorway. Her silver skin seemed to pale under the glow of the warning lights. Her voice was a whisper full of dread. "They've come for me." Ethan glanced over his shoulder. "Yeah, I figured." "You don't understand," Kaylin said, stepping forward. "These are hunters. They never fail. If they take me, they will rip this ship apart and you with it." Ethan locked his jaw and pushed the thrusters to full burn. The Sparrow shuddered as the engines roared, racing toward the nearest asteroid field. Space outside turned into a blur of stone and shadow. Gripped the wall as the ship jolted. "You should leave me. Drop me in an escape pod. Maybe they'll spare you." Ethan barked a laugh, sharp and humorless. "That's your plan? Hand you over and hope they feel generous?" Her glowing eyes met his, fierce and desperate. "It's the only way. My life is already over. Yours doesn't have to be." "Not happening." He slammed the controls, diving the Sparrow through a narrow gap between 2 spinning rocks. Metal scraped, sparks showered, but they made it through. Behind them, blue plasma fire lit up the dark as the hunters gave chase. Kaylin grabbed the back of his chair. "Why? Why risk everything for me? You don't even know me." Ethan's voice was steady, even as alarms screamed. "Because someone should have done it for you before." Her lips parted, but no words came. For a moment, her gaze softened, just before a blast hit the rear shields. The ship rocked violently, throwing Ethan forward against the console. Warnings flashed bright red. Shield integrity, 47%. "Damn it," Ethan cursed, pulling hard to the left. The Sparrow spun, engines flaring, but another hit followed, closer this time. Heat seared through the hull. Kaylin stumbled, clutching his chair to steady herself. "You can't outrun them. They're faster, stronger. Then I'll outsmart them," Ethan snapped. He dove into a deeper part of the asteroid field. Giant rocks loomed like sleeping beasts, shadows shifting across the cockpit. Plasma bolts scorched the stones, sending shards spinning through the void. Kellen's voice was low, trembling. "Ethan, if they catch us, they won't kill me quickly. And you," she swallowed hard, "they'll make an example of you." Ethan shot her a glance, eyes blazing with determination. "Then we make sure they don't catch us." The hunters changed formation. 2 ships circled wide, cutting off the escape routes. The third came straight for them, guns glowing with deadly light. "Brace!" Ethan shouted as the Sparrow flipped and rolled, sliding between 2 massive boulders. Rocks shattered in their wake, fragments hammering the hull like bullets. For one breathless moment, it seemed they'd lost the hunters in the chaos of spinning debris until Kellen's voice cut through the silence. "They're not firing anymore." Ethan checked the radar, and his stomach dropped. The 3 hunters had vanished from the sensors. "They've cloaked," he muttered. Kellen's glowing eyes darkened with fear. "They're not chasing anymore because they don't need to. They've set a trap." Before Ethan could reply, the Sparrow lurched violently. The lights flickered and died. The engines fell silent. EMP pulse. Ethan slammed his fists on the console as every system went dark. "We're dead in the water." Kellen's voice was barely a whisper now, heavy with dread. "They're coming to board us." Asterisk. The sound echoed through the hull, a deep metallic clang. Then another. And another. The hunters were attaching their boarding claws. Ethan reached for his rifle, his jaw tight as steel. "Looks like they want to meet us in person." Asterisk. The first metallic clang shook the Sparrow like a death bell. Ethan gripped his rifle, jaw clenched. Outside, in the endless black, the hunters crawled along the hull like shadows with claws. Their drills bit into steel, sparks trailing like fireflies in the void. Mording claws, Ethan muttered. His voice was calm, but his pulse roared in his ears. Kaylin stood near the medbay door, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim emergency lights. Her eyes flickered to the sealed hatch, where faint thuds echoed like footsteps of doom. "They'll come through fast," she said softly. "You can't stop them." Ethan checked his ammo. "Watch me." Kaylin took a step closer, her voice urgent. "You're human. You fight for survival. They fight for honor. They won't stop until you're dead." He looked up at her, steel in his gaze. "And I'll make them regret trying." The first breach came with a scream of tearing metal. A hole ripped open in the corridor wall, and black-armored figures poured through. They moved like predators, sleek and merciless, eyes glowing crimson under their helmets. Ethan didn't hesitate. The rifle thundered, plasma rounds lighting the dark in flashes of blue fire. One hunter went down, then another, but more came, their blades sparking as they slashed through panels and wires. Kellen's voice cut through the chaos. "Behind you!" Ethan spun just as a hunter lunged, blade raised. Before he could fire, Kaylin was there moving like lightning. Her hand caught the alien soldier's arm, twisted, and drove his own blade through his chest. The hunter fell with a hiss of black smoke. Ethan stared for a heartbeat, stunned. She was fast. Too fast. Her body flowed like liquid steel, her silver muscles coiling with power. Then another hunter charged, and the fight dragged them back into fire and shadows. They fought side by side, now Ethan's rifle roaring, Kellen's alien strength snapping. Weapons like twigs. Sparks rained from the ceiling, smoke curling through the narrow corridors as alarms wailed. "You're full of surprises," Ethan grunted, kicking a hunter down the hall. Kaylin didn't look at him. Her glowing eyes blazed as she drove her blade into another enemy. "You don't know half of it." But Ethan saw it something raw in her face, rage, and something else, buried under the fury, pain. They cleared the first wave, bodies scattered. Across the deck, black blood pooling on the floor like ink. Breathing hard, Ethan slammed a fresh power cell into his rifle. "That all of them?" Kaylin shook her head, her silver hair damp with sweat clinging to her cheeks. "No, the commander hasn't come yet. He'll finish this himself." Ethan's chest tightened. "Great." Before he could speak again, Kaylin stumbled, catching the wall. Her side was bleeding, glowing faintly where a blade had sliced her skin. "Sit down," Ethan ordered. "No," she hissed, straightening. Her glowing eyes locked on his, fierce and unyielding. "You need me." He hesitated, then nodded. She was right. Without her, they were dead. The lights flickered. Then silence. The alarms died. The air felt heavier, thicker, like the calm. Before a storm, Kellen's voice was a whisper now. "He's here." Ethan gripped his rifle tighter. "Then let him come." The corridor stretched before them, smoke curling like ghosts. And then he appeared. The hunter commander stepped through, the haze towering over the others. His armor was black as night, etched with blood-red marks of rank. In his hands, he carried a blade longer than Ethan's arm, glowing with a dark fire that seemed alive. His voice rolled through the corridor, deep and cold. "Kaylin of the Fallen, you bring shame to your blood." Kellen's jaw tightened. Better shame than murder. The commander tilted his head, his crimson eyes like burning coals. "And you, human, you should have let her die." Ethan lifted his rifle. "Yeah, well, I'm bad at following orders." The commander moved. One moment he was standing still. The next he was a black blur, his blade slicing sparks from the walls. As Ethan fired, the shots glanced off his armor like rain. Ethan rolled aside as the blade slammed down, carving a smoking scar into the metal floor. Kalen lunged at the commander, their blades clashing in a storm of light and steel. The sound was like thunder in the narrow space. For the first time, Ethan saw Kalen as she truly was a warrior born, fierce and beautiful, fighting with a fury that burned like a dying star. But the commander was stronger, every strike forced. Her back, his blade eating sparks from her own weapon. Ethan fired again, trying to draw the commander's attention, but the giant hunter barely noticed him. Kalen's blade snapped. She gasped as the commander's strike slammed her against the wall. "Kalen!" Ethan shouted, lifting his rifle, but the commander was already moving, blade swinging toward her throat. Ethan didn't think. He charged forward, slamming into the commander with everything he had. The impact sent them both crashing through a shattered door into darkness. The last thing he heard was Kellen's scream, "Ethan!" Darkness swallowed Ethan as he slammed into the hunter commander. Metal shattered. Sparks rained like stars. They crashed into a lower deck, the air filled with smoke and the echo of steel grinding against steel. Pain shot through Ethan's ribs as he rolled across the floor. His rifle was gone. The commander rose like a shadow from hell, towering over him, blade glowing red with silent fury. Ethan crawled back, heart pounding, searching for anything a weapon, a tool, anything. His hand brushed against a steel bar, cold and jagged. He grabbed it and stood just as the commander lunged. The blade whistled past his face, close enough to burn. Ethan swung the bar with all his strength. It slammed against the commander's helmet with a sharp crack, barely denting the black armor. The hunter tilted his head slowly, like a predator amused by its prey. His voice rumbled like thunder. "You fight like a child." Ethan gritted his teeth. "And you talk too much." The commander raised the blade again when a blur of silver struck from the smoke. Kalen. Her broken blade flashed like lightning as she drove it against the hunter's arm. Sparks burst as steel met steel. "Move, Ethan." She shouted Dottie, rolled aside as Kalen launched herself at the commander. Her movements were fast, almost desperate. Every strike came with a roar, her glowing eyes blazing like blue fire. For a moment, it looked like she could win. Then the commander caught her wrist mid-strike and slammed her against the wall. The sound was brutal, a sickening thud. "Kalen!" Ethan shouted, rushing forward. The commander lifted his blade, ready to finish her, but Ethan didn't think. He hurled the steel bar with everything he had. It struck the commander's helmet and shattered, but it was enough. The alien turned, just for a second. Kalen seized that second. With a cry that ripped from the core of her being, she drove the jagged edge of her broken blade into the gap under his armor, right at his throat. The commander froze. His crimson eyes dimmed. Then he collapsed with a sound like a collapsing tower. Silence fell. The only sound was Kellen's ragged breathing. She slid down the wall, her body shaking. Ethan ran to her, kneeling beside her. "You okay?" Her glowing eyes turned toward him. Tears glimmered in them, bright as liquid stars. "You risked everything." He tried to smile, even as blood trickled from his temple. "I told you, I'm bad at giving up." Her lips trembled. "Why?" she whispered. "Why fight for me? My people call me traitor. I have no honor, no name, nothing left to live for." Ethan stared at her for a long moment, his chest rising and falling. Then he said quietly, "Maybe, because someone needs to remind you that you're worth saving." Her eyes widened, the words hitting deeper than any blade. For a heartbeat, she couldn't breathe. Slowly, her fingers reached for his hand. They were cold, trembling, but strong. She held on like he was the last solid thing in the universe. Her voice broke, soft and raw. "You repair engines." "But..." Can you fix what I am? Can you save my soul? Ethan swallowed hard, the weight of her words crushing against his chest. He didn't have an answer, because this wasn't about machines or wounds. This was about something deeper, something no human tool could mend. Before he could speak, the sparrow shuddered violently. A deep boom rolled through the hull. Ethan looked up sharply. What now? Kellen's eyes widened with sudden dread. The hunters. They weren't. Alone. Ethan's blood ran cold as the ship's warning lights flickered back to life. On the cracked console nearby, a single message pulsed in crimson letters. Imperial flagship approaching. Kalen gripped his arm, her voice trembling but fierce. Ethan, if that ship catches us, there's no escape. Not for me. Not for you. Outside, through the shattered viewport, a shadow spread across the stars. A ship so massive, it blotted out the light. The shadow grew larger until it swallowed the stars. Through the cracked viewport, Ethan saw the Imperial flagship glide into view like a silent predator. Its black hull shimmered with crimson lights, stretching for miles, its cannons glowing with the heat of 1,000 suns. Ethan's stomach turned to ice. He had seen warships before, but nothing like this. This wasn't a ship. It was a city of death. Kalen stood beside him, silent, her glowing blue eyes reflecting the storm outside. For a long moment, neither spoke. The low hum of the Sparrow's damaged engines was the only sound. Then Kalen whispered, "You can't win against that." Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't. Every option he ran through ended the same way: death. Kalen turned to him slowly. Her face was calm now, almost peaceful. "There is one way." Ethan looked at her. "Don't say it." Her voice was steady, even as her hands trembled. "If I give myself to them, they might let you live." "No." The word shot from his throat like a bullet. "That's not happening." Kalen stepped closer, her silver skin catching the flicker of the warning lights. "You don't understand. To them, I am a stain, a traitor. They will take me, punish me, and kill me. But you, they don't care about you. They'll let you go." Ethan shook his head, his jaw tight. "You think I'm going to hand you over to those monsters? After everything we've been through?" Her glowing eyes softened with something almost like sadness. "Why do you care so much? You're human. You could leave. Forget me. Live?" Ethan stared at her for a long, heavy moment. His voice was low when he finally spoke. "Because leaving you behind would kill me faster than any hunter blade." Kellen's breath caught. For a second, the lulls, the alarms, the coming doom, everything faded. It was just his voice, and her heart pounding like a drum. She swallowed hard. "You're a fool, Ethan Cole." "Yeah," he said, pulling up the ship's navigation controls. "But I'm a fool with a plan." Her brow furrowed. "What plan?" He punched in coordinates so dangerous, even the system hesitated before. "Confirming." The screen flashed. "Warning. Gravitational collapse zone detected." Callan's eyes widened. "The neutron star." "Ethan, that's suicide." "Not if we hit the jump at the right angle," he said, his fingers flying over the console. "Their flagship can't follow us in. Gravity will tear them apart. We'll slingshot through the collapse and jump to safety." Kalen shook her head. "It will tear us apart." Ethan turned to her, his gaze hard but burning with something deeper. "Do you trust me?" Kellen's lips parted. For a moment. She couldn't speak. Then, slowly, she nodded. "I do." Ethan managed a grin, quick, sharp, reckless. "Good. Strap in." The Sparrow groaned as the engines roared to life, flames spilling from cracked vents. The ship trembled, metal screaming, as it fought to move. Outside, the flagship's cannons began to glow brighter, energy building for a single, devastating shot. Kalen gripped the seat as the Sparrow dived toward the neutron star, a monstrous sphere of white light spinning in the distance, its gravity ripping fragments of rock into ribbons. Space twisted around it, bending like a living thing. Alarms wailed. Hull integrity warnings flashed. The ship shuddered as they crossed the event horizon's edge. Panels exploded in sparks. Ethan's hands gripped the controls so hard his knuckles turned white. "Hold together, baby," he muttered to the Sparrow, voice raw. Cullen's hand slid over his. He glanced at her, and for a moment, even in the storm of fire and death, everything slowed. Her glowing blue eyes locked on his, full of something fierce and fragile all at once. "If this is the end," she whispered, "I'm glad it's with you." Ethan opened his mouth to answer when the world tore apart. The Sparrow hit the gravity well like a bullet through glass. Space warped, light stretched into infinity. The ship screamed, its frame twisting as if giants were crushing it. Warning. Structural failure imminent. Ethan gritted his teeth. Just a little further. The jump drive charged, its core glowing white-hot. Kalen held on, her body trembling, every muscle locked as the ship's metal skin peeled under the strain. "Come on." Ethan roared. His finger slammed the hyperspace lever down. The world vanished in a blinding flash of blue dot asterisk silence. Blackness. The Sparrow drifted in a void that was not space, its lights dead, its hull cracked. Ethan's hands slipped from the controls, his breath shallow. Beside him, Kalen floated, her eyes closed, her body still. For a terrible heartbeat, it looked like both of them were gone. And Kellen's lips parted. A single word escaped, weak but alive. "Ethan?" The world was silent, no alarms, no engines. No sound but the slow, uneven beat of Ethan's heart. His eyes fluttered open to darkness, broken by faint blue light. Ka-Elien. She floated beside him in the shattered cockpit, her silver hair drifting like strands of starlight. For a terrifying moment, her eyes were closed, her lips were pale. "Kalen," his voice cracked. His hands shook as he reached for her, pulling her close. Her skin was cold, too cold, then soft as a whispering. A dream. Her lips parted. "Ethan?" Relief hit him so hard his chest ached. He pressed his forehead to hers, laughing and choking all at once. "Yeah, I'm here." She opened her eyes slowly, glowing blue even in the dim ruin of the Sparrow. "We lived?" Ethan glanced out the viewport and froze. The stars outside were wrong, not twisted or torn like before, just different. A sky he had never seen. Nebulas swirled like oceans of fire, painting space in colors no human eye had words for. 2 suns burned on the horizon, casting golden light across fragments of shattered moons. They were alive, but they were far from home. Kalen followed his gaze, her lips parting in awe. "A new sky?" she whispered, voice trembling. Ethan smiled. Faintly. "Guess we made it." He checked the console, or what was left of it. Most systems were dead. Life support was holding. Barely. Jump drive. Gone. Communication fried. They were alone. But for the first time, that didn't feel like a death sentence. Kalen shifted slowly, wincing from wounds that even the medkit couldn't fully heal. Ethan reached out, steadying her. She looked at him, her glowing eyes shimmering, not with fear now, but something softer. "I thought I had no soul left," she said quietly. "But you gave me hope again." Ethan swallowed hard. "Hope's a good start." Her fingers slid over his hand, cold but strong. She held on like she was afraid he might vanish. "Ethan, if this is our sky now, then let me share it with you." He stared at her for a long moment. The soldier who had begged for death now looked like someone reborn. And he realized something deep in his bones. Saving her wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Before he could speak, the Sparrow's cracked screen flickered to life, just for an instant. A signal. A voice filled the cabin, broken by static. Human ship. Identify yourself. We've been waiting for you. Ethan and Kaylin froze, their eyes locking. That voice wasn't alien. It was human. Ethan's pulse kicked like a drum. Someone somewhere knew they were here. Callan's hand tightened around his. What does it mean? Ethan stared out at the new stars, his jaw setting like iron. It means we're not done yet. Outside, the twin suns rose higher, casting gold fire across their battered ship. 2 lives, 2 worlds. 1 sky dot, and for the first time since the darkness began, Kaylin smiled. *The end.